welcome to another episode of Shooting
the Shit with Rachel
and Neal Young. So we're talking all things real estate photography business growth, mindset, and getting it done. Here come your favorite true entrepreneurs, Rachel and Neal Young, shooting the shit.
I have a ferret on the podcast. Like if we're kind of in a slump, like what kind of things do you do?
Talking about a boob light.
Straddling a power line.
Nice photo.
Ooh, I need that.
I'm like red right now because I'm embarrassed. I go like this. I love it.
Come in.
Sure, use your podcast voice.
You know, over here, I'm kidding out.
Drone's like flipping to the ground.
That's a great callback.
Chit-chatting.
Is that what you call that? Hey!
This episode is brought to you by my admin. Well, HD Photo Hub, which is basically like having an admin.
That's right. And it's not just a delivery platform. It's a powerhouse designed to make your work shine. From stunning teaser videos and social media reels to custom property websites and polished printable flyers, HD Photo Hub automates it all so you can focus on what matters, growing your business.
That's right. The biggest roadblock in the growth of your business, this includes myself and Rach as well, might just be you. And that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about the things that are holding you back in the growth of your business that you're the root problem for, basically.
Yeah.
And I am as well. And some of them we've learned and some we maybe still have to learn on our journey. But we're going to dive into a bunch of the things we came up with to talk about.
Yeah. No, I think self-sabotage is one of the number one things that I've mastered in my life. And even though it doesn't look like, I'm struggling or like I've had a lot of opportunities, but I've missed a lot of growth and opportunities with self-sabotaging myself because of a lot of the things we're going to discuss. So let's get into it. So basically growth starts from within, and we're going to talk about all these different roadblocks and things that can get in your way. And we're going to discuss some of our own experience with this and hopefully encourage you to think and evaluate about yourself and where maybe you're falling short, where you might be holding yourself back from growth. I know for me, it's been one of my goals is to grow this business, and it's scary. And I haven't reached the goals that I want to reach because I keep making excuses and I keep getting distracted. And I don't do the things that I need to do because I procrastinate and I find other things to do. That's my biggest roadblock that I've had with my business. So, and I literally give myself pep talks. I've done it with Neal. I just did it the other day, didn't I, Neal? I was like, all right, this is it. I got to hire employees. I need 2 of them so that I can stop shooting. I've been saying this for 3 years, and it's time to just bite the bullet and flip and do it.
Yeah. No,
what are you waiting for?
That is a big one. Procrastination for me too. I've always had a problem with procrastination on anything, tests, homework, last minute to do the work on that. And then I dive into it 100%. And some of this stuff we put off because it's hard to do or it's not our favorite to do. But sometimes when you actually just buckle down and do it, you're like, why didn't I do this sooner? Mm-hmm. My specific example is on that same line, trying to hire shooters. I finally sat down, and the thing that was holding me back was posting something for a job. Mm-hmm. Just that was it. I was like, oh, what am I going to write? I gotta come up with a whole synopsis and the description. It just sounded like overwhelming and daunting to me. But really, what it came down to, I sat down with Chat GPT for friggin' 10 minutes and just said, hey, Chat GPT, because that's the thing, I don't like writing. I think that's the big part. And it turns into a convoluted mess and it becomes overwhelming. I said, help me to write this job description. Mm-hmm. Ask me a series of questions about what I'm looking for in a shooter that will help us identify how this job description should look, and ask me one question at a time, and then we'll create a document to hire somebody. And it didn't take very long at all, and it was so easy letting it write it. So all the grammar stuff was right and all that was right, whereas I botch it all, and that's part of, I think, my dread of it. And I had like 30 replies.
It's amazing.
To that post.
Isn't that so funny that the task that you thought about that, you probably put more effort and energy
Hmm.
into thinking about doing that for how long? A year versus actually the 10 minutes it took to sit down and do it.
Right.
Like,
And it
it's
hangs
crazy.
over your head, and it's kind of
Yeah.
that thing that's gnawing
And
the
that
back of your brain.
stress.
That's always like making you uncomfortable and anxious a little because you're like, I know I got to do that. I know I got to do that.
Yeah. And you're like, oh, I'll do it later. I'll do it later. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And
like
I'm like,
me with anything technology.
what the heck,
Like,
you know?
mm, yes.
Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
a big one.
That's tough. Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that we can do to help kind of overcome this procrastination and to help with our time management. One of the biggest things is to use time blocking and consistent scheduling. So, setting aside time in your week. I know we've said this in the past on the time management episode we did, which it's true. You have to set time aside to work on your business in order to
Hmm.
reach your goals, which means you have to step back from shooting on certain
Yeah.
days of the week, unless you want to work nights or weekends, right? To actually spend the time to grow the business if those are your goals. And even if it's not your goal, you still need to manage the business and run and do a lot of the marketing and the outreach and
Yeah.
come up with the new marketing plan and come up with social media stuff. I mean, there's so much to do, as you all know. But you need to make sure that you're setting aside time and time blocking for that. And time blocking is great because you could just literally spend 20 minutes every morning of the week working on something for your business. And you set a timer, and it's at those 20 minutes is when you're working on that job post or when you're
Yeah.
working on that newsletter. That's it. And then once the 20 minutes is up, okay, up, I'll work on it again tomorrow. Right. But it's those little 20-minute increments that are going to move you closer to the end goal.
Yeah.
I think one of my biggest hangups is like I'm a visionary, so I can see the future of what I want it to look like. But for me, I'm impatient as well. So going through and doing all the things to get there is overwhelming to me. Like I look at it and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to do that,
There's
that,
so
that, and
many
that.
things. Hmm.
Yeah, and I already have my schedule's already full. Like when the heck am I going to squeeze that in? You
Hmm.
know, and then I just procrastinated on it.
Yeah.
But the things that are filling my schedule are not necessarily the most important thing that's going to move me closer to my goal, which my goal is to free up more of my time so that I can be healthier, so that I can live a more balanced lifestyle. And that's not going to happen if I don't take the time to work on growing the business and getting more
Yeah.
shooters, you know? So it's like this crazy slippery little loop
Oh, yeah.
that you
And
get
and the
stuck in
big
so
thing,
easily.
the big thing about the scheduling that piece is, and the hard struggle for me there too, that I'm working on too, is you have to respect your own time
Mm-hmm.
as much as you do for the clients who want to book you. Because the problem that you might have, like me, is when somebody calls you and says, you really don't have any other times available, and you're looking at that time you blocked off to work on the business, you're going to be very tempted to go, you know what, I could move that. But you got to
Mm-hmm.
respect your time as much. And that's the only way you're going to progress. And that's something I'm working on. Um, and it's helped me actually having my other shooter, Zach, where I've gone and blocked more days to focus on things, forcing that these people have to use my other shooter at those times. And so that's been helpful. And the only way to get there to get more time is then now for me to focus on getting another shooter.
Yeah.
And so that I can block more times with still allowing my clients to be able to book me. But you also have to at some point go like, there's a cost. There is going to be a
Mm-hmm.
cost. If you think there's no cost to blocking some of your schedule, you're wrong. That there it also has a value. And you have to be okay with going, you know what? That day I'm doing that. It might cost me a shoot. You got to be okay with the cost with that and commit to it. If it's of value to you to accomplish whatever that task is, then maybe identify it that way. What is that worth to you? To maybe really be able to not let yourself get pushed around to let it drop through the cracks again. Yeah.
Totally. Yep. Yep, that's one of the hardest things for me, honestly, because you feel guilty. You're like, and you look at
Mm.
your schedule and you're like, well, I kind of have an opening, but and I've even told this to my clients recently. I'm like, well, I have Friday half the day set aside for I got to work on this project, and they're like, oh, so you are free? I'm like, well,
Right.
not
Right.
really. Like,
Mm.
sure, yeah. I'm not shooting. I'm physically not shooting for another client. So, in other words, in your eyes, I'm free. So, lesson learned there. Don't tell your clients that you're
Don't
working
tell
in
them.
your office because they'll be like, oh, good, you can shoot for me, please.
Hmm.
And they'll beg,
Yeah.
pretty please. Anyways,
Yeah.
okay.
I tell them too, and I don't like to lie. So I know some people would just say
Mm-hmm.
something. I will just tell them like, um, you know, I have a project. I already have a project booked at that time.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
it's my personal project that I'm working on for the business.
Right.
You know what I
I
mean?
mean, yeah.
And it's the same thing for your family time too, right?
Mm-hmm.
I started blocking Sundays, but every now and again people are like, you don't do Sundays anymore? And for that one, I will say Sunday's my only time to be with family. And it's like, oh,
Yeah.
and that's a boundary. So when you
Right.
start saying those kinds of things, they start to understand that, oh, that's like a permanent thing.
Right.
If you have those kinds of things. And it's good to announce those kinds of things so they understand it moving forward. But
Totally.
you also still gotta be not let them push you around on that because it's pretty tempting for me still sometimes to go, well, I guess I could
Mm-hmm. And, when you want the money, that's the hard thing. It's like, oh, I want the
do it.
money and I don't want to lose the client. It's like, oh, okay, fine. Okay, fine. But yeah, you're also remember every time you say yes to something when you had
You're
something else
saying
there,
no
you're
to something
you're
else.
compromising your future and you're compromising your own well-being. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah. To say yes to anything, you have to say no to something, right? You can't do everything in the same amount of time. So, yeah,
totally.
you just got to value the thing you're saying yes to
Yeah,
more than the
exactly.
thing you're saying no to.
Exactly. Okay, let's move on to the inner critic because this one's not fun.
Mm,
We all have
okay.
it.
Inner critic.
Self-doubt and imposter syndrome.
Mm.
Yeah. Neil, have you ever doubted your skills? Or felt like you're not good enough to
Oh,
charge
all the
what you
time.
deserve?
Absolutely, all the time.
Right.
And you see other people's work and you think, oh, geez, you know, I'm not as good as him.
Hmm.
What does he charge? Oh, he charges the same as me. Yikes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's okay. Uh, that is a tricky one. And yeah, the imposter syndrome. I think it can definitely hold you back, especially talking to new clients, especially if you're new at doing whatever the thing is. Maybe you've got a new
Hmm.
service and you haven't fully ironed it out yet. And you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be charging for this. Or, yeah, I think there's a lot of ways that can hold you back. But, be honest with yourself about some of these things. You do have to weigh the scales. Yeah,
Hmm.
you can be insecure for a good reason that you know your work's maybe not as good or this new service maybe it's not fully ironed out yet. That's okay. So maybe just take that to account. Like for example, if you're like me, where I've tried a new video style, right? Um, I'll maybe feel a little insecure about it because I'm not sure if I've got it as good as maybe somebody else that I saw did it. So in that case, I will account for that by, maybe doing it for free for a client first and
Hmm.
get some feedback on it or a discounted rate and explaining that out loud to them. Like, hey, this is a new service. Still ironing out the bugs, but I'd love to give it a spin with you. Would you be open to that? So that's some of the things you can do. What are your thoughts on what have you felt for some of this like insecurity about things, Rach?
Yeah, I think just knowing that it's normal. Like it's normal to feel this way because a lot of us are doing and trying new things. There's so much to learn in this industry. And especially if you're in the first few years, of course you're gonna have imposter syndrome. You're gonna feel like you're not good enough. You're gonna feel like,
Mm,
oh, who am I? Like, why are they hiring me? But at the same time, like just know that those feelings are normal with any industry, anything that you're doing. Like it's normal. So give
mhm,
yourself a break there. And then I think to just celebrate the little wins that you do have can help you build that confidence. Because really, essentially, imposter syndrome is just a lack of confidence. You just feel like you're not 100% confident in what you're doing. You don't 100% know all the ins and outs of it, right? So you feel like you're not good enough to do it,
mhm.
or
And you're
someone
focusing
else.
on and you're focusing on what you don't know,
Right,
right? I think a
right.
lot of
But
us see somebody better than us,
yeah,
but if you focus on what you do know, which
hmm,
is more than what your clients know, because that's why they
exactly.
need you, right? You
Right,
have something
right.
of value. So focus on
Yeah.
what you do.
And one thing that I heard this a long time ago, I think I was like in my 20s. Someone said I worked in retail and they were like, if you don't know the answer to something, that's okay. Just tell your client or, the person you're shopping with, you
Hmm.
know what? I don't know the answer, but I will find out for you. And then
That's huge.
always follow up. It's better to say that than to guess and say the wrong thing because then you just told them the wrong information. Then you have to go back and be like, actually, I was wrong. And so don't be afraid to say, you know what, I'm not actually sure on that, or I don't really actually understand how that works, but let me find out for you and I'll get back to you. And then they will appreciate the fact that you went out of your way to figure it out and learn something, and then you brought it to them and told them. So
Yeah,
that's a
because
big one too.
if you do try to guess answer or one of these answers,
You get in trouble.
and they find out that you're wrong, you will be the imposter at that
Yeah,
point.
exactly. Exactly.
You know,
So,
and I've seen that of people that have told me answers to things that I knew the answer and I knew that they were full of it.
yeah,
And at that
exactly.
point, I don't value what they have to say.
Yeah. And it honestly, if you're ever feeling down on yourself or like down on your work, go look through your Instagram and look through your portfolio. Go look at your website. It's fun to see your work. Like if you need a little boost and you're like, oh, I'm not feeling good enough, like go look at some of your work and be like, you know what, I am good. It
Yeah,
helps you to look at it from more of a positive perspective. And obviously, like your portfolio is going to be a compilation of your best work. So it's a good place to go and just kind of reaffirm yourself like, okay, I do a good job at this. I am good at what I do. So
yeah. And
celebrate your wins.
yeah, and the people that hired you again,
Hmm.
that that is telling you right there that you're doing something that they see value. So think about that as
Exactly.
well.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
Let's talk about pricing and negotiation fears.
Ooh, I hate pricing. I hate talking to people about money. Um,
Right?
you know, and I think that sometimes just making a decision and writing it down and just doing it is the best solution. And just sticking to your guns on it. And just if people like the price, they'll take it. If they don't, they don't. So many times I have felt in my career of doing any kind of service this hesitation to tell somebody the price, and then if they didn't like the price,
Hmm.
the instinct to want to alter it to
Mm.
accommodate them, and
Right.
that's where you go wrong.
Hmm. Exactly. Yeah. I think underpricing your services because you're afraid of losing clients is very common in our
Mhm.
industry. And
Yes.
a lot of people, when they do that, you're undercutting your competition, which is one way to get clients, right? But
Mhm.
eventually, when you hire an admin and you start hiring a team and you need money for your business to buy something, you're going to realize like, I don't have very much money left and I'm not really not making very much money in my business. I'm working so hard. And you look at your hourly wage and you're like, crap. I mean, it looks like a lot of money, but it's not because I literally am
Yeah.
working 8 hours a week. Like when you do the math, it's not, it doesn't make it worth it in the long run. And when I started my prices, I looked at the competition and I priced pretty competitively across the board with some of the big dogs around, like the big established companies. And I was like, this is going to be my pricing. I'm going to stick to it. And I kept that same pricing for 2 or 3 years. And then I slowly started increasing
Mm.
different services and playing with that. It took me a long time to increase prices. And now I've done it every year. And this year I actually brought them down because they were too high. So, but I definitely have had many times when someone's like, oh, can I get a quote? A lot of times for like design photography, they want design photos.
Mm.
Or like I just did a video for a builder and I charged, what I charge, $500 for the video. And it's for their website. Like I probably should have charged 1,000.
Mm.
But and I charged him, I don't know, a decent amount for the photos. And then I did the video. And then he emailed me back and he said, what's the difference between the top line and the bottom line? I don't understand what the difference is. Because I charged 500 for photos, 500 for the video. So it was like way too cheap.
Mm.
And then yeah, anyways. And he was like, what's the difference? I don't understand. And I immediately, my mind went, he thinks it's too expensive and
Mhm.
he's challenging my pricing. That was
Mm.
exactly where my mind went. And that was just my own insecurity, my own assumption. He didn't say that at all. And I explained, I said, well, the top one is the photo are for the photos I'm going to be taking of the space. And the bottom one is for the video that I'm going to be taking. And they're two different services. I think the photos were 750. Sorry. And the
Mhm.
video was 500. And he was asking what the difference was. And I said, photos, they're going to get more photos. It takes more time to process. It's just a different art than the video is. And so I'm charging you for this much for that and that much for that. And he was like, oh, okay. I just didn't understand. I thought they both were photos and I didn't know why I was being double
Charged
charged.
twice.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it was like just a complete misunderstanding on his end. But I
Yeah.
instantly, my own insecurity and my own fear of the pricing and negotiating was thinking like, oh no, he thinks it's too much. Because it was like
Right.
1250 and I'm gonna be there for like an hour and a half. Oh, and then I did headshots for him too. And that was like $1,200 for the headshots. It's so funny. I'm okay charging like full price for headshots, but when it comes to my real estate photography for a builder, which isn't much different than my real estate photography. I have the hardest time charging more. It's
Yeah,
like,
because and this is a
goodness.
big thing that we do, because you're trying to evaluate what is the value difference. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times we call that, I've heard this called buying with your own wallet kind of thing too. Like when I first talked to my wife about the headshots I did, and I told her, I charge whatever it was for the headshots, and she was like, well, why would they ever pay that when they can go to J.C. Penney's and charge and pay $50? They're not, why would they buy that? And I'm like, well, there is a difference, but it's not always something I can explain to people. And some
Mm-hmm.
people aren't going to see the value and they're just not going to pay it. They're just not going to be my clients.
Yeah,
And you have
exactly.
just have to be okay with not winning every client.
Yeah.
Um, and the funny thing is now she charges more now that she's now a photographer as well. She charges more than I do and thinks I'm too cheap.
Oh, that's so funny.
And there's plenty of people paying for both of our work.
Right.
So you really got to not go like, oh, well, why would they pay this much for my work? Stop doing that.
Yeah.
Um, Decide what it's worth for you. It makes sense for you. And you really don't have to. I have not found a lot of times that I have had to explain why it costs that much.
Mm-hmm.
Me personally, I
Yeah.
haven't.
Well,
I did break it down.
mhm.
I'm not saying versus with this guy. He didn't even care. He just didn't understand. But what I'm saying is, I break it down and figure out what it's worth for me for my time. But like when I tell somebody that the floor plan is $100, they don't go, why is it $100? It's just what I charge. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? They just go, oh, it's too expensive, or they go, okay. And so I stop. I don't, my recommendation is try not to explain too much. You
Yeah.
figured out what rates made sense for your business and your time. You should have done that. If you did that, then those are your prices. And then if you need to give an explanation, it's like that's just what we feel our time is and effort is worth and what we do on this service.
Yeah. You know
That's
what I
all.
have the hardest time telling clients? I did it yesterday. So we do junk removal and we do virtual staging and we charge $45 for junk removal and 45 for virtual staging.
Hmm.
So it's $90 if they want to remove the current furniture and virtually stage it.
Yep.
And one of my favorite clients yesterday, I was working with him and he was like, "Okay, so what if I want to change this to a bedroom instead of a living room?" And I was like, "Oh, we can do that." And he goes, "How much would that be?" And I was like, "Rachel, say it with confidence." I'm like, "Well, it's 45 to virtually declutter and then it's 45 to virtually stage, so it'll be $90 total." And he was like, he didn't even blink. He's like, "Okay."
Right.
Now, in the past, I've been like, well, it's 45 for us to like say it. I just sound so insecure about it,
Hmm.
instead
Hmm.
of just saying what it is. It's like, it is what it is. If they want it, they'll pay for it. I mean, it's
And
cheaper than
we're
them.
already in our heads
I
going,
know.
he's gonna think it's too expensive. Why are we
Exactly.
making that judgment for them?
Okay, here's the alternative though. He's going to have to go in there and we're going to physically move all the furniture out for
Mhm.
$45. Like,
Right.
no. And he even said when I got there, he's like, yeah, the stager was going to charge me an extra 3 grand to stage these two
Right.
rooms. So I
Hmm.
decided I'm just going to virtually stage it. So 3 grand versus
Hmm.
$135 for him to
Yeah.
virtually stage two
Yeah.
images. I
You
mean,
would you would have made that judgment for him that
yeah.
it's too expensive and you should lower your rates, whereas he heard it and thought, Psst, sorry to interrupt. If you haven't heard, Rach and I are using Pixel CRM.
Pixel CRM isn't just another boring tool. It's basically your business's best friend. With Pixel
Mhm.
CRM, you can automate your lead generation, follow ups, client communication, and stay top of mind with email campaigns. And there's just so much more.
And if you want, you can try it out today. Just go to pixelcrm.com/STS and you're going to get the first month of Pixel CRM free. So yeah, you're thinking, oh, he's going to think it's too expensive. Meanwhile, he's in his head going, oh my gosh, it would have cost me $3,000 and a lot of time moving stuff here and there. Amazing, no brainer. So yeah, you stop buying with your own wallet.
Yeah, exactly. So just develop a clear pricing strategy, know your worth and value your worth, and practice some negotiation to build some confidence if you need to, like practice some scripts. That can help you too.
And you can always reevaluate at some point too. Just because right now my floor plan is $100 doesn't mean it's going to stay that way forever because potentially it might not make sense soon for me because the way they're advertising to real estate agents about free floor plans.
Yeah.
But up to this point, for multiple years, I've charged $100 for a floor plan. Floor plan. Many people pay for it and have no problem with it, and some people don't because it's too expensive and they do it themselves, and that's fine too.
Yeah. And we just give it away for free because we don't value our worth. You
But
know what's funny?
you have a special deal with
We do.
Kubicasa,
We do.
and you get promoted through Kubicasa, so
And we're
it's
using
not
it
true.
as a lead magnet. So, and it's working.
Yes. So yeah,
Yes,
there's
it's all good.
multiple tactics.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly. We didn't actually lower our prices this year. We just threw in free floor plans, which most people are buying them anyway. I think we made 10 grand on floor plans last year. So when I looked at the numbers, I was like, I mean, that's a lot of money, but if we can get 5 new clients because of free floor plans, it pays for itself. So,
Yeah.
anywho,
Sorry, I'm getting
okay.
past notes from my daughter here. If you see me shaking my head on the video, I'm answering my daughter and handing me
Oh,
notes. Can I go play outside?
no, there's cars out
Oh,
there.
yep. And here comes another one. But anyway, yeah,
Okay,
totally.
we're almost done, Neil. We have 2 more. Marketing and self promotion
Mm,
is
mhm.
something that I think a lot of people get hung up on. Like promoting your own services. I think some people feel uncomfortable promoting their own services, or can. I can't relate to this because I have from day one just jumped all in and done this. But I know for some people it can feel weird to kind of talk about themselves and talk about what they offer because it can feel kind of breaky,
Yeah.
in a sense.
Yes.
Look at me kind of thing.
Hmm. Hmm.
Or maybe you just don't find the time to do it. You're like, I just don't really like marketing. It's not your thing. Maybe that's holding you back because that's not in your skill set. And that's totally fine. It's just you got to find someone that can do it for you. That's one of those tasks that you're going to delegate because it's going to benefit you more if someone else does it versus yourself because you're going to bang your head up against the wall every time you have to do it. Or you're just not going to do it at all and you're not going to grow. Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I relate to and I can see why a lot of people wouldn't want to do it for the feeling like they're bragging. Rach, did you know that listeners can use the code STS to get 10 free full deliveries? That means 10 complete marketing kits with HD Photo Hub.
yes, and that includes property websites, videos, flyers, and more absolutely free.
And what I love is I can set it up so that the clients have to pay before they can even download their photos.
Oh, that's the best. No more chasing invoices. And the online ordering has saved me so much time with back and forth text and emails. It's just automated.
Use the code STS to get 10 complete marketing kit downloads now.
Part of this is like, what's maybe it's you're apprehensive to posting on social media. Like you don't want to put yourself out there, right? Like that's self promotion. And that can just be personal insecurities with getting on camera or talking on camera or stuff like that, right? Which I totally understand. But for me, like all these Facebook groups that they have for real estate photography, um, I've never posted my work on those groups. And part of it is because I don't want to get ripped apart.
Mm,
I've seen how nasty the groups can be and some of the comments that people put in there. And honestly, it like terrified me. I was like, I don't want anything to do with that. That does not look fun. I'm not putting my work out there. However, I probably would have gotten some very good constructive criticism from it. But
mm,
still to this day, I've not posted my work on any of those Facebook groups or sites.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I get it.
And I think the other thing we'll do is there's either the fear that you're going to get comments that you're not ready to hear,
Yeah,
right? That
totally.
you're kind of sensing maybe your work isn't good enough and you don't want to actually have it written in stone that now you can't avoid it anymore and you have to improve. The flip side of that coin is arrogance,
Mm,
that you really think there is no need for improvement on anything you do.
yeah.
And that could be a huge thing holding you back. To not even put it out there to go, you know, maybe somebody out there actually might have some skills that I don't possibly possess at this point because you only know what you know. And so that's a really arrogant thing to think that you couldn't possibly improve, that you're really already the best of the best.
Hmm.
I don't think any like pro athlete, even they're the top of their field, they're working every day,
Right.
you
Yeah,
know, to get
totally.
better.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that would definitely be just you
Could be just
being
an
the
ego thing.
roadblock.
Yeah,
Yeah, you don't
exactly.
even know
Exactly.
what you might be missing out on by just holding that back. But I do get the
Yeah.
fear. I am with you on the fear of I just don't want to hear all this. I
I'm like,
know there's stuff
no,
wrong with it.
don't tell me.
I
I'd rather
don't
not
want to
know.
know.
Yeah. So a couple of ways to like combat this is to instead of looking at your sharing on social media or marketing yourself as selling, look at it more as if you're just sharing something.
Yeah.
You know,
Look at it as in helping. If you focus
Yes,
not on what we do, I do this so well and we do this better than them and we do that. No, focus on how you can help
exactly.
someone.
Yes.
That never feels messy to me.
Yep. Yep. And then showing like behind the scenes content and then client testimonials is a way for you to brag without you talking about yourself. Like it's
Yes, I love
easy to
that.
share a client testimonial and get that validation from a client and it doesn't feel gross,
Yeah.
sharing it
Instead
when
of
it's
you
coming
saying
from
it out
someone
of
else.
your mouth is much harder. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I love that. Totally.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
And last, but not, well, not last. Just kidding. Okay. So next up is a growth mindset and goal setting.
Mm.
So do you have clear goals, Neil, of where you want to go in your business?
You know, I should have more clear goals written down. I do have a clear goal, but it's very broad. What I need
Mhm.
is the in-between goals, right? I
Yeah.
need more focus on the steps to get to the finish line. I know the big goal is
Yeah. You
to
need the
grow.
micro.
Yeah, I need the micro in between. That's what I need to focus more on. Now, I have a micro that I'm working on right now, which is getting one, maybe two more shooters, right?
Mhm.
So I have that step to get to the step, the big step, which is eventually me not being in the field as much, me just doing what I choose to do in the field, right? So that I can focus more on other things in the business and with the grow course and all that. But, you know, I don't know the next step after the second shooter.
Yeah.
You know, so that I got
Yeah.
to start thinking about that. But for
Yeah.
me, like you say, you get overwhelmed with a lot of things. I'm like, I know how to focus on that one thing. But then the
hmm
next thing is probably gonna be so obvious to me too, though. Sometimes I don't overthink it just because I know once I have those two more shooters, I've got three shooters out in the field. There's gonna be some traffic jams that are going to start to happen. There are going to be
Yeah.
problems that need to be solved and figured out, and I'll work on those next. But I probably should have my next step after the two shooters in line. I'll probably work on that.
Totally.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. Um, I wanted to double my business this year. And part of that
Hmm.
was hiring people. It's
Yep.
been a year since I set that goal, and
Oh, really?
I have not doubled it. We've increased significantly,
Hmm.
like 10 to 25% every month in the last 6 months, which has been great.
Hmm.
So I'm making steps towards there, but I kind of, this spring, I really derailed myself. I should have hired someone for spring. I should have hired an employee. I just thought, oh, we can run with just the people that we have. I heard a couple people that we interviewed on the podcast, and they told me how many shooters they have and the volume they do. And I was like, dude, if you only have four shooters and you're doing that volume, I should be able to do it easily with three and a half of us, you
Right.
know? And it's just not enough. It's like I
Yeah.
need more people. And
And
maybe they have a different
you realize there's room for improvement, right? Because
right.
they're doing somehow they're getting more shoots for each shooter,
Yeah.
and so then you start to go, okay,
Well,
maybe there are things that could be streamlined to make shoot shorter or something to get more in a day, or
that's the thing. Like a lot of our clients order packages and packages take up, I mean, we can only do three a day when you're doing the works. I mean, maybe if you're lucky. So maybe
Mhm.
they're not selling as many packages and their average order value isn't as high as ours, you know? So it's not just the number of shoots, it's also your average order value. So I should have
Mhm.
really considered that as well. But
Mhm.
anyways, bottom line is I'm now motivated and I do have a clear goal of getting myself out of the field. I really only want to shoot 2 to 3 days a week, like
Mhm.
I was doing in the wintertime. Now I'm back to full time, which pulls me away from being able to do stuff. I'm training a new shooter right now, uh, and I'm hoping to get at least one more going sooner than later. So I'm on the right track again, but man, it's all about like seeing the future and seeing yourself moving forward and not being stuck in the past and dreading the things that
Mhm.
I've done where I've fallen short, and not getting hung up on that, but like setting that goal and then what can I do every day to get closer to that goal. And then for me, I have a big whiteboard that I bought that sits on an easel and it sits right next to my desk and it has my goal on the very top. And then it has a list of things that I need to do in order to achieve that goal. So that keeps it top of mind,
Mm,
and kind of keeps the blinders on so that I focus on just focused. Because there's a lot of
yeah,
other things that come across my desk that are fun that I need to not focus on, you know? So,
totally, totally. Yeah, and the thing I've been thinking about a lot lately with this whole you might be the biggest roadblock to the growth of your business is that a lot of us started out as solo creators,
mhm.
uh, and we were valued for our skills. And it's easy to start thinking that nobody does it like me, or nobody's quite like me, which is, comes from like there's a little bit of arrogance in there, which can be good, right? Like I'm good at what I do and I'm great and I have this skill and nobody's just like me. But that can also be your biggest roadblock. That can be the thing that's holding you back, which is a narrow kind of mindset, which if you're trying to grow your business, that is going to it's just going to kill you. It's going to deaden your tracks. And I've been thinking about it a lot just because, um, you know, there are so many people in this world to just think that like I'm the only one who could do the critique on the video or the photos or, whatever. Even if you've gotten away from, I don't have to film it myself, but you still think like you're the most skilled person to give the feedback to your editor. There definitely could be other people who could do that, and your time might be better served. And recently, just trying to hire some different editors, um, I don't know how to explain it exactly, but I see other videos on social media that I know are better than mine because of the way they are shot, the skills of the shooter, and because of the skills of the editing, but also my own narrow mindset somehow. I don't know exactly what it's thinking, but somehow just seemed out of reach for me to be that good. Um, and a big part of that is not removing myself enough from the process because my skills for video editing currently are like I still give feedback to my current editor, um, that is helpful to him. But there are other editors who are way more skilled than me that don't need my level of
Mhm.
skill. And
Mhm.
so I've kind of had a ceiling, a glass ceiling in that mindset. Now realizing there are other editors that I actually could afford to use that improved the quality of the work and who could also potentially help my other editor grow and evolve.
Mhm.
So I've been sheltering the whole team,
Mm.
um, if you think about it that way. And so
Yeah.
I am my own biggest roadblock, even though sometimes I don't realize it. Sometimes you might think you're being the most helpful person, but maybe you're not. So I think realizing and at least evaluating, even if you think that everything you might be doing is great, there might be answers out there that you didn't realize. And
Yeah.
so I think we should be open to critique, and it's great to have the podcast because we get to listen to other people and what they do and hear things that we didn't think of, or goals that they're crushing that we thought were out of our reach. It's that old adage of, I think that the 4 minute mile was, they thought it wasn't humanly possible to do it faster than 4 minutes, or whatever it was, until somebody did it, and then literally like a month later, somebody did it faster than that. But it was
Mm.
like held for multiple years until somebody just did it, and just the belief that they could do it was a bunch of other people broke the record then. So I don't know. Open up. I guess we got to be a little more available to be open to critique, and also open to just listening and hearing what other people are doing. And don't be afraid to step out of all the roles that you're doing and see what other people might have to offer. Because the sooner you can replace yourself in those roles, the sooner you can grow, because there's only so much you can do in a day. If you want to grow your business, I think that's the quickest way to evolve and get better is find somebody to replace you for all the things you do.
100%. Just remove yourself from the process.
I
No.
mean,
You can
seriously,
still do the things you love and you can still be in the business for
you
sure.
can do whatever
But the
you
more, yeah,
want, but
exactly.
yeah, but you
Exactly.
can't grow until you can take a day off.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, and make sure you're surrounding yourself with positive, like growth-minded peers
Yeah.
that will help lift you up and bring you new ideas. I've heard more and more people talking about they've started this little mastermind group, like Tony Dunham just told me he just has been having this meeting with 6 or 7 other creators, and he's like, it's
Oh,
great. And I was
awesome.
like, whoa, why wasn't I invited? Excuse me.
Hello.
Hello, I need help
Um,
too. Like, oh my
Hi,
gosh,
Tony.
I
Hi.
don't have all the answers here. I need help.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Anyways,
Yeah.
so, and I've heard a couple different people around the country that do that. So if you're not doing that and you need inspiration or you want to grow, it's something to consider. Start a mastermind group. Like reach out to a couple peers you've met on social media and see if they want to chat once a month. Like could you can get some really good things out of it.
And don't do what I would do in my head and decide potentially that, maybe you saw somebody on Instagram and you're just so impressed by their work and you wish you could do stuff like, don't decide that for them that if you were to message them that they wouldn't answer. You
Hmm.
never know.
No,
Take a
totally.
chance, send a message out to somebody, reach out to somebody and say, hey, I love what you're doing. I
Yeah.
would love to pick your brain sometime.
Yep.
And you never know, you might build a relationship. I did do that one time a couple of years, 3 years ago, and her name was Rachel.
Oh,
And
yeah.
she said a lot of interesting things. And I said, you want to start a podcast? And she said, huh, maybe. So you never know, guys. You
7 days
never know.
later, we were podcasting. We've been going ever since. 3 years
Three
later,
years, 3 years
here we
later.
are.
So take a chance, take a gamble. Don't buy with your own wallet and don't assume that, people aren't going to be open to chatting with you about what they do because we chat with people all day about and share all kinds of helpful stuff to help, even though we're all creators in the same space. And some of the people I share stuff with are technically my competitors.
Yeah, totally.
So,
Another thing too is to seek out mentorship and coaching support. Um, Mentors can show you things that you don't see. A lot of times we're so in our business and so surrounded with it. An outside eye that comes in and looks in on your business can find all of the holes and all of
oh
the
yeah.
problems and show them to you and be like, hey, what if you fix this? Or you've got a leak over here. Or if you just fix this one little, if you pull this lever, this thing's going to go up. So they can come in and really help you evaluate and fix and kind of make the process easier. And it'll just catapult you. Like, yes, it costs money, but they could save you years of loss in income by
Mm,
fixing just little problems up front. So don't be afraid to hire coaches, to invest in courses, to learn and get a mentor because it definitely does pay off. That's something I wish I would have done sooner, honestly. I got no help. I just did it all myself. And I kind of had pride in that. I was like, oh, I feel
mhm.
proud of myself for just doing it all myself. I never was involved in the forums and the Facebook groups, and I just learned off YouTube. And I had a few couple friends in the industry, but not very many until I started the podcast. And then it was like blinders came off, and I started looking. I didn't even look at other people's work very
Mm,
often. I was very, very just self centered and looking at my own stuff and working on my own business. Not self centered in a bad way. I just wasn't paying attention to what other people were doing. I was just doing my own business. I was so busy with it. And then when we started to do the podcast, it really we started interviewing people and I started hearing their systems and processes. And it really opened this whole new world to me, which is it's been amazing. This has been so good for me to do this podcast. So it's
yeah.
been great.
Oh,
Yeah.
the other thing I want to say too is perk your ears up when you're surrounded by these real estate agents that are also entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of what they're doing in their business applies to us as well, and we can learn from them too.
Yeah.
And so I'm listening to an audiobook right now. What is it? Millionaire real estate agent, I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the guy from KW or whatever. But a lot of the stuff I'm listening to it, I'm just interested in their field as well. So I like to hear about it. But a lot of the stuff they talk about to be successful in their business applies to us as well. So don't be afraid to listen to other sources, other kinds of businesses, and there might be some amazing gems there that we haven't heard about in our realm, you know?
Yeah. Totally. Totally. So I would challenge you guys to pick one thing that's been a roadblock for you and start chipping away at it. Figure out how you're going to fix that out of listening to this podcast. Or it was one of these things that kind of stuck out to you, and you're like, oh, I think that's me. Start tackling that thing and see if you can turn it around.
Yeah,
and
don't be
start
overwhelmed
working.
by the full list of everything.
I
Just
know,
pick
don't do them
one.
all at once. You're like, I suck. I should just close my
Oh
business.
God.
I'm guilty of them all.
Stop at 5.
I think we're all guilty of all of them in a little way, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
Neil?
totally.
No. Anyways, try that. Have fun
Cool.
with it. And yeah, follow us over on Instagram. We have moved or changed our Instagram handle from Shooting the Shit with Rach and Neal to Grow with Rach and Neal, Neal. So come follow us if you haven't already. And if you can't find us, that's where we're at. So
Cool.
have a great day,
Awesome.
guys.
Cool. See you next time.